واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. I would like to welcome everyone this evening to today's lecture. Inshallah, today we're going to discuss the rulings of Eid al-Fitr, inshallah. However, today I wanted to begin. Okay, this is. I think it just went out.
It was on?
Yeah, it was on. There's a red button in the back of the amplifier. So I wanted to start today a brief discussion surrounding the fasting of Ramadan, and wanted to pose a question to you today, inshallah, to begin, and that is, what is the spirit of Ramadan? How would you describe the spirit of Ramadan?
Sacrificing for Allah, things that you can do.
Sacrificing for Allah. Okay. Yes. Month of blessings. Yes. Fixing your mistakes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Self-examination. Indeed. Indeed, self-examination. Anyone else? Okay, so the spirit of Ramadan can be summed up in a lot of the things that were mentioned. In addition to that, we find the spirit of Ramadan in some of the other spiritually uplifting activities that we engage in during the month. And from helping others, going out of our way, being extra nice, kind and compassionate, connecting with those who are less fortunate. When you think of the fast itself, the fact that you deny yourself, although you have the means to feed yourself, yet you don't. You don't eat. You don't drink. So in that, you're connecting to those who truly don't have the means. And you get some spiritual fulfillment from that. We increase our prayer during Ramadan. We increase our dua during Ramadan. And prayer in particular is one of those spiritually fulfilling activities that we engage in. We pray more. And we connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through our prayer. The activities that we engage in, such as an activity such as this. When we come together as brothers and sisters and we bond, that's a spiritually uplifting activity. When we attempt to reconcile with those whom we have differences during this month of Ramadan, we often do that. We find a way to get past our differences and to be brotherly to one another. We restrain ourselves. We mentioned not eating and not drinking. We control our tempers. We modify our behavior in ways that we often are negligent of outside of the month of Ramadan. And we enjoy that feeling, that ultimate feeling of redemption. We all year, we fell short. During Ramadan, we're on our best behavior, and we believe in the promise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised us, and that is that clean slate. That's the spirit of Ramadan. And you see it all around you. With some more than others. With some more than others. Because for some, Ramadan is a chore. Ramadan becomes a chore. The fasting becomes a chore. It becomes a cultural expression. You know, this is a month when we don't eat and we don't drink, and I'm glad when it's over. It becomes a burden. And unfortunately, for those people, those are the people who lose out on the true spirit of Ramadan and what Ramadan has to offer all of us. Now, I wanted to begin today's conversation with this because the spirit of the Eid is attached to the spirit of Ramadan. Definitely. How is the spirit of the Eid attached to the spirit of Ramadan? It's another question for you. How does Ramadan transfer to Eid? Yes.
So the portion where everyone should be enjoying the same thing, it shouldn't be some who do, some who have, some who don't have.
Okay, that absolutely. We talked about, sharing that experience. We'll refer to that as empathy. I think that's the appropriate word for that. Anyone else? Because we're going to talk a little bit about, I wanted today to talk about the spirit of the Eid. And again, this is based on my own observations over the years. Yes.
I think there's I don't know if it's hadith per se, but that the Sahaba, they would pray for like half the year that their Ramadan was accepted, and then for half the year that they would reach the next Ramadan. So I feel like the transition from Ramadan to Eid would be like, okay, now that I've done this to the best of my abilities, like this is the beginning of the please accept this Allah type of portion.
That is a very good point. However, it's a lot deeper than that, because as a believer, as a mu'min, you believe that when you've done everything that's been asked of you, when you've done everything that's been asked of you, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His promise is true. So on the day of the Eid, you are rejoicing. You are happy because, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in a hadith, we're going to repeat this hadith a little later, inshallah, that on the day of the Eid, that the angels occupy the pathways that the believers travel towards the Eid site, wherever you're celebrating the Eid. And they proclaim, O nation of Muhammad, come out to a great Lord who rewards handsomely. And as you come out to the salah and you perform your prayer, and as you leave the musalla, it is said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proclaims that He, as we are pleased with him subhanahu wa ta'ala, he subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with us. It's a day to rejoice. So what you do during Ramadan, that same spirit carries on to the Eid, because you recognize that insha'Allah on the day of the Eid, that's the day in which you receive your reward. And the scholars refer to the day of the Eid as Yawm al-Jawaiz, or the day on which the rewards are dispersed. Those rewards, man sama Ramadana imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. So he who fasts the month of Ramadan out of sincere faith and anticipation of reward, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive them their sins. Additionally, because for most of us, it's more than us just abstaining from food and drink. We do a whole lot more. We do a whole lot more in order to earn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favor. So all that you've done, you add that to it. From your sadaqah, from you keeping yourself in control, so that insha'Allah your fast is good. From you engaging with Allah's book. For every letter that you recite from the Quran, every letter that you utter is worth 10 rewards at minimum, up to 700,000. So you do the math. How can you not be happy on the day of Eid? The only way that a person isn't happy on the day of Eid, the only way a person doesn't carry the spirit of the Eid, is if, one, they didn't have a good fast. That's a possibility. The other thing that will do it is if your focus is on people. When we focus on people. I remember one of our imams, Imam Rashid Awad, may Allah have mercy on him, I recall him saying that if you focus on the Muslims will make you hate Islam. Islam is not about the Muslims. Islam is about your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we remain focused on what we're doing now. When the day of the Eid comes, oh, I'm good. If I'm the only person on the planet, on the face of the earth, that's celebrating the Eid, I am joyful. Why am I joyful? Because I understand and I know that I, insha'Allah, have secured monumental reward. And that if by chance I fell short or I am uncertain, I'm still hopeful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, this is a verse that we've heard this month, and we hear all the time, verse 185 from Surah 2, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares that the month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed. At the end of the verse, the first part of the verse is about Ramadan. The end of the verse is about the Eid. The end of this verse is about celebrating the Eid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ أعوذ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let me go back a little bit more, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants ease for you, not hardship. That He wants you to complete the prescribed period, which is your 29 or 30 days. Why? To glorify Him. لِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. That you glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He made you amongst those who were conscious enough and aware enough and lucky enough to participate in the fast. Because imagine, you're in an environment where everybody else around you is indulgent. You're practicing restraint. They're indulging. You're practicing restraint. You're keeping yourself in check. They're doing whatever. That's a ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with. And as a result of this ni'mah, not only has He blessed you, but because of your compliance, He's rewarding you in a way that you can't even imagine. All of that requires what? That we glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of the Eid. لِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. And we demonstrate our gratitude to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala by glorifying Him. We demonstrate our gratitude to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala by giving zakatul fitr before the day of the Eid, continuing that Ramadan spirit. Continuing that Ramadan spirit. So, before we get into the ahkam or the rulings, and we're going to come back to this verse because this verse is used as proof that Takbiratul Eid, the Eid chant, is more than a recommendation. In the madhab, Takbiratul Eid is a strong sunnah. It's a strong sunnah. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how we do that, how that should look. But the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in the Quran, so لِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ, is a directive. We understand that as a directive from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we ought to glorify Him on the day of the Eid. So when the Eid approaches, brothers and sisters, when it comes, we know why we should be happy. So even if everyone else isn't feeling the spirit, you should. And if you have friends, family members who aren't feeling the spirit, remind them why they should. Remind them why they should. And we have to be in the habit of encouraging one another. And sometimes when we don't understand, we clarify. We clarify. We're going to talk a little bit today about how we present ourselves on the day of the Eid. That's part of the fiqh, inshallah. But we're going to start today with the meaning of the word al-fitr. What does the word al-fitr mean? Anyway, so when you hear Eid al-Fitr, what does the word Eid mean? Eid means what? Eid means celebration. Actually, Eid in Arabic means an anniversary. Okay? And Fitr is a reference to what? Fatara means to what?
Have a happy time.
Not have a happy
Have a
time.
good time.
Not have a good time.
Break.
Absolutely breaking your fast. Yes. So you're celebrating the conclusion of your fast. That is an annual anniversary. Okay, so there's an Eid every year. There's Eid al-Fitr every year. And there's Eid al-Adha every year. So the Eid is that anniversary of when we conclude the fast, and we demonstrate that on the morning of the Eid by eating before we leave for the Salah. That is the Sunnah. So you want to demonstrate physically that you are no longer fasting. And you do that if it's a date, if it's a piece of bread, if it's an egg, whatever. If you drink some water. But you physically demonstrate that you have successfully, insha'Allah, concluded your fast. The Eid itself, or the Salatul Eid rather, is an established sunnah. Something that the Prophet ﷺ always did, and it's something that he never, ever neglected. And it should not be neglected unless a person has, or left unless a person has a legitimate excuse. A legitimate excuse. Now we're going to go back to what we talked about earlier with regards to the spirit of the Eid. Because some of us struggle with that. Some of us struggle with, okay, it's Eid. We've all said it. Doesn't feel like Eid. You know, I don't feel like going to the Eid. Why don't you feel like going to the Eid? You need to ask yourself that. Why is it that I don't feel that I should celebrate publicly? Is it perhaps because my focus is on the wrong thing? My focus is on what everyone else feels and how they feel about it and how they express it. And that impacts me to the point where I don't want to do it. Well, that's not what the Eid is about. The Eid isn't about everybody else. The Eid is about you and your success. And you celebrate your success. And you celebrate your success publicly. Some of us will hurry after the Salah to go back to work or to go to work. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing in the Sharia that says that a person cannot work on the day of the Eid. However, if you don't absolutely have to, you shouldn't. You see, because we have to get in the habit of honoring our faith. You honor your faith. You honor your tradition. You're in an environment where traditions are honored. You see it. When the holidays come around, traditions are honored. And often you are forced to honor the tradition whether you want to or not. Offices are closed, businesses are closed, you can't get anything done. Christmas Eve, forget about it. Christmas Day, good luck. Unless it has something to do with, selling goods and spending money, then that's different. You're in luck. But if you're not in retail, forget about it. It's not happening. That's because traditions are honored. And we have to get in the habit of honoring our faith. Honor your Islam. Honor who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed you to become. Because Islam is a ni'mah. Huwa ijtabakum. He selected and chose you. Honor that. And when we don't treat our anniversaries or our a'yad, our holidays, we don't give them the same respect, we're not honoring that. We're not honoring what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And often, we need reminders, and often reminders need to be shared. Need to be shared. Our young have to understand clearly what the Eid is about. They, regardless of how young they are. We include the gifts because gifting is a sunnah. It's a wonderful thing. It fosters love. As Prophet ﷺ said, tahadaw, tahabbu. That if you gift, gifting will bring you closer together, will increase the love amongst you. So when we give gifts to each other, we give gifts to our children, etc., it's a good thing. That's part of the Eid spirit. It's expressing joy. Expressing joy however we express our joy and our happiness. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshaAllah, is pleased with us, and that He subhanahu wa ta'ala has this tremendous reward reserved for us, inshaAllah. So attending Salat al-Eid is a must. Something that you should not miss out on. Unless you're sick, you can't make it because you're sick, or something major prevented you from attending. Some of the sunnahs that are recommended for the Eid day. We already mentioned eating before you leave. You should also bathe. You should go to the Eid Salah fresh. You don't want to go to the Eid Salah with yesterday's smell on you. That's not a good thing. Now, the other thing that's extremely important, in addition to you not going to the Eid Salah with yesterday's smell on you, that you go to the Eid Salah and you look like you're going to the Eid. Now, Jabir ibn Abdullah radiyallahu anhu says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would order them. He said, كَانَ يَأْمُرُنَا إِذَا غَدَوْنَا إِلَى الْمُصَلَّى, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would order us that when we were going to the Eid Salah, that we should wear the best that we have. أن نلبس أجود ما نقدر عليه من الثياب. This is reported by Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu. So when we go to the Eid, we need to look like we're going to the Eid. However that looks for you. There's no pressure like that. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the means, and you know, we've all heard the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. You believe? Be conscious of Allah and be amongst those who represent the truth. And part of you representing your faith truthfully is being honest in all across the spaces of your life. You go to a wedding, you're decked out. You come to the Eid, you look like you're going to the park. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. You know, you going out to hang out, going to a show. You're mashallah, buying a new outfit, all of the works. You go to the Eid, I got sneakers on, I got a pair of jeans on and a t-shirt. Not that that's the best that you have. If that's the best that you have, alhamdulillah. But you have to be honest across the spaces of your life. You can't, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling you to represent the best. The best day, one of the best days for you is the day of the Eid. Look it. Look it. If you can afford it, look at. That is the sunnah. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy something new and do all that good stuff. But look like this is an important day for me. This is an important day. It's an important day spiritually, and it's an important day because every single believer is giving da'wah on the day of the Eid. Because the day of the Eid is not a secret. It is known to people. People will say, yeah, oh yeah, you're Muslim, today's your holiday, huh? Now, when we see our counterparts, and I know some of us aren't comfortable with drawing parallels and comparisons, but people look at this stuff. Part of you giving your da'wah is you looking your best. People seeing that you take your Islam seriously. These Muslims, they're serious about their Islam. So how you dress is part of the sunnah, that you dress your best, insha'Allah. It is also sunnah to take an alternate route home from the Eid prayer. Meaning that if you travel one path to the Eid, that you should not return the same way that you traveled returning home. And the scholars say that is to demonstrate change. That you went from this continuous fast to, inshallah, the month of Sha'ban, you're breaking. So you broke, you're going to fast during Sha'ban, but it's going to be different from your fasting during the month of Ramadan. And this is the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this is what he did. It is also sunnah to pray Salatul Eid outside of the masjid if possible. So in the event, if you are praying Salatul Eid outside of the masjid, and you come to the musalla or the prayer area, that's what the word musalla means, that you should not make any prayer at the musalla except for Salatul Eid. Why? Because the musalla is not a masjid. Your sunnahs that you make when you come into the masjid do not apply to the musalla. So if you're celebrating the Eid in the masjid, then when you come in, of course, you observe the sunnah by offering the 2 rak'ah, the salutations of the masjid, or tahiyatul masjid. You do observe that. The time that is allotted for, or the window that is allotted for Salat al-Eid is once the sun rises above the horizon until the time for Salat al-Dhuhr. That's your window. And if you, for whatever reason, are unable to perform the Salah within that time, you do not make up Salatul Eid, because the sunnahs are not made up. If you miss Salatul Jama'ah, you miss Salatul Eid in congregation, and the Eid Salah is performed in the masjid, you should not repeat the Salah in congregation. If the Salah is prayed outdoors, that's a different story. You can repeat the Salah in congregation outdoors. But in the masjid, you should not. Are you allowed to do that? Yes, you are. You're allowed to repeat Salat al-Eid alone. You can pray alone, provided that you know how to do that. And we're going to talk about that because Salatul Eid is unlike the other salahs. We're going to give that description shortly, inshallah. Another sunnah is upon leaving your home, you leave your house, you walk out the door, headed to the Eid, that you begin saying the Eid chant, which has several variations. We refer to it as Takbiratul Eid. So, whatever is customarily done wherever it is that you live is fine. So if your chant is short, as in Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and is restricted to that, that's fine. If you include Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd, that's fine. If you include Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd, Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillahi kathira, all the way up to وعلى ذريتي وعلى ذريتي Sayyidina Muhammad, all the way up to the end, that's fine. Whatever you do, however you choose to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of the Eid, it is fine. I don't want any of you feeling some kind of way because somebody's looking at you out the corner of their eyes because you're doing the long version of takbir. That's their issue, not yours. They need to deal with their issues. They need to deal with their limited understanding. Because the more you glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greater the barakah and the reward. It's a form of dhikr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what in Surah Al-Ahzab? Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu dhkuru Allaha dhikran kathira. Dhikran kathira. All you who believe, remember Allah, right? Remember Him how? Often. Not a little bit. Often. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. You praise Him morning and night. So what do? We say the takbirah from the time we leave our homes. You can pace yourself. It's okay if you stop, but you need to get in the habit of keeping Allah's name on your tongue and keeping you focused on why you are celebrating this day. لِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. Remembering why why you are celebrating the day of the Eid. And you do that through takbir and tahleel. Tahleel is la ilaha illallah. Tahmeed is alhamdulillah. You utter all of those. You utter all of that in your takbirah. And it's a great thing. Okay? So you say that just until you reach the musalla or the masjid, wherever you're having the Eid. But you continue to engage in the takbir, to utter the takbir up until the imam ascends the minbar. So once the imam ascends the minbar, that's when the takbir should stop. Because we understand at that point that something is about to happen. We know what that something is. And I said that because this is my segue into my next point with regards to the order. Salah, khutbah. It is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ on the day of the Eid for Salatul Eid to be performed before the khutbah. it is inappropriate to reverse that order. In essence, a person doing that will be going against the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As it relates to khutbatul Eid, Al-Imam Malik says that if you witness Salatul Eid with the Imam, you ought to stay for the khutbah. It's not a mandate, but he says you ought to stay for the khutbah. Salatul Eid is not initiated as our other salahs are initiated with the adhan and the iqamah. There's no adhan and there is no iqamah. So it would again be against the sunnah for someone to call the adhan for Salatul Eid or to call the iqamah to alert people that salah is about to begin. The imam will simply say as-salatu jami'ah, or that salah is in session, or something like that, to alert people that it is time to perform the salah. The description of Salatul Eid is as follows. Salatul Eid, 2 rak'ah. The first rak'ah, you have 7 takbiras, including the opening takbirah. You have 7 takbiras, including the opening takbirah. Your takbirah is your opening salutation when you say Allahu Akbar. So after the first Allahu Akbar, in the madhab, you raise your hands. After that, your hands remain in place. And in place, for Malikis, that would be to the side. If you choose to fold your arms, that's fine as well. This is a sunnah salah, it's no big deal. The other 6 takbiras, the imam will say Allahu Akbar, and those following will say Allahu Akbar as well. If you're not a follower of the Maliki madhab, then you'll raise your hands, which is fine as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. After the 7th takbirah, recite the Fatiha as you would do in any other salah, and then you recite a surah. That is the first rak'ah. The second rak'ah is 5 takbiras, not including the transitional takbirah. Transitional takbirah is takbirah from sujood to qiyam. From prostration to standing back up, call that transitional takbirah. That's Allahu Akbar. And you say Allahu Akbar 5 more times after that. At no point when those takbiras do you raise your hand. You continue to say Allahu Akbar, and the imam will say Allahu Akbar. You repeat after the imam, Allahu Akbar. If you're praying alone, this is the description. And you recite the Fatiha and a surah. Before you recite the Fatiha, between your takbir and your Fatiha, there's no dua, there's nothing. In a madhab, there's no dua, there's no subhanaka Allahumma, there's no dua. You say Allahu Akbar, then the next thing that you say is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. That's it. Okay? The recommended surahs, or what it's reported that the Prophet ﷺ did regularly, or he recited regularly during Salatul Eid, were 2 surahs. Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la, Suratul A'la, and Suratul Ghashiyah. There are other reports that Prophet ﷺ recited other surahs, but the most narrated reports are that he ﷺ recited those 2 surahs, Surat Al-A'la and Suratul Ghashiyah. And if you don't know Suratul A'la or Suratul Ghashiyah, you can recite any surah that you want. That will suffice you as well. But those 2 surahs are the recommended surahs. So after, at the conclusion of the salah, conclusion of the salah, of course the imam will stand and the imam will give the khutbah, and the khutbah will be two parts as is khutbatul jum'ah. So the imam will sit during a brief intermission. He'll take a brief intermission, which is maybe a minute or two at the most, and then he'll stand and give the second part of the khutbah. And as I said earlier, it is not mandatory for those who attend Salatul Eid to stay for the khutbah, nor is it mandatory for Khutbatul Eid or the Eid sermon for you to give the imam your full attention. However, just because I don't have to give the imam my full attention, that doesn't translate to now I can disrespect what's going on. And how do we disrespect what's going on? Imam's giving a khutbah. We're in the same space. So now the imam is competing with several conversations that are going on in the musalla. That's inappropriate. We can't do that. We have to show that we have more respect for our Islam than that. You want to have conversations? Take your conversations elsewhere. The imam shouldn't be competing with, brother Fulan and sister Fulana. Competing with the musallin, with the attendees for their attention. So you got 3 or 4 conversations going on in your ears. You're trying to listen to the khutbah and you got a conversation, pocket over here, pocket over here, pocket over here. That's not a good look. It's not a good look. So if you choose to leave, then you can leave. It's all good. But if you're going to leave, then, and you feel the need to talk, please take your conversations as you are leaving somewhere else where you're not interfering with an act of worship, which the khutbah is. Because whenever there's a reminder that's being given, that's an act of, that's worship, that's ibadah. So, one last thing that I wanted to cover today is Zakatul Fitr, and I'm assuming that there are going to be some questions regarding that, but we'll start with the fact that Zakatul Fitr is an obligation on anyone that has the means to pay. If you have the means to pay Zakatul Fitr, and you are above the age of taklif, the age of responsibility or awareness, then you are obligated to pay the zakat. You can pay the zakat up to 3 days before the Eid, but it has to be paid before the Eid Salah. You can pay the zakat in food stuff, and you have those who believe that giving the zakat in grain and dates and stuff like that that's found in the text is more authentic and closer to the sunnah. And often we lose the objective of Zakatul Fitr. The objective of Zakatul Fitr is it's part of the Eid spirit, you making the Eid day a good day for someone else. A joyous day for someone else. A day when I know if I don't have food, I don't have any other day. On the day of the Eid, I have something. So you're not restricted to often giving people things that they don't have need for, or they can't make use of. Or I'll give you a part of what you need in order for you to have a full meal. You want to give meaning to people's aids. So however that looks for you, if you're going to give food stuff, I would recommend you give people enough or the components to make a full or complete meal. However that looks, it could be a vegetarian meal. You don't have to include a protein. Some vegetables, start something. But don't give a person a bag of rice. Because in my opinion, that's an insult. You're going to give me a bag of rice. When you have the ability, see, we're not living in a time where, food is scarce and options aren't plentiful. We live in a time when you walk into a supermarket and you choose whatever you want is there. We know what a full meal looks like. You know what a full meal looks like for you. Give a person a full meal. Or give the person the means to purchase a full meal. We have children. Those of us who have children, they're above the age of taklif, let's say 15 and above. They have some money. They need to pay their own zakat.
1, 2, 6, 7, 7.
They need to pay their own zakat. Get them in the habit of going in their pockets and giving that charity. You worked a job, you get an allowance, you can pay zakat. Everyone else, the head of household, is responsible for taking care of. And that's for every family member. Zakat is due for every family member. If we have people in our homes that we are guardians over, we are responsible for, their responsibility, and we're responsible for their zakat as well. So I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters, that one, we have a successful conclusion to this blessed month, inshallah. That we find a way to take full advantage of what's left of this Ramadan. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our fast, all of our acts of devotion during this blessed month, inshallah. And that on the day of the Eid, we're truly happy. And we're happy because we understand what it means. We understand what it means. Today is the day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards me with that reward that He has promised me. That's why I'm celebrating. Inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات من كل ذنب واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Any questions? Yes. All right. How
do you attend a khutbah without giving your full attention to the speaker? I'm kind of curious about that.
How do you?
Yes.
So if you're sitting, the imam is giving the khutbah, and you have a cell phone, you take your cell phone out and you scroll through your cell phone. You're no longer giving the imam your full attention. During Jum'ah, that would nullify your Jum'ah. That type of stuff. Someone's sitting next to you, they say something to you, respond, or you say something to someone. That's you not giving the imam your full attention. So during Khutbatul Eid, that's accepted. Should it be done? Absolutely not. But is it accepted? Yeah, it's accepted. You can do that. That's fine. There's no harm, unless, of course, you're doing what we described earlier, where the imam has to stop his khutbah and ask you to be quiet. You don't know how often that happens, and unfortunately, it happens with us. I mean, often in Muslim countries, that the imam doesn't have to stop his khutbah and tell people to keep it down, or to take it outside, or to take it somewhere else. We do that. we do that. Inshallah, we'll get that together. Inshallah. Yes. Right. So.
Well, we know there's no sunnahs before the Eid. There should also be no sunnahs when Jummah prayer has started, right? And you should just come in and take a seat.
Oh, well, yeah. So no sunnahs before the Eid, meaning that you walk into them. If the Eid is performed, we said this earlier, if the Eid is being performed in the masjid, you can pray your two sunnahs. But if the Eid Salah is being performed outside in a musalla, an area that's designated for that Salah, that's not a masjid. So you don't perform sunnahs there. As far as Jum'ah is concerned, in the madhab, once the imam is on the minbar, you do not perform any sunnahs.
Yeah, that's what I was.
That you don't do, because you are obligated to give the imam your attention in the sunnah. That's an obligation. That's a wajib.
Exactly.
Versus a sunnah, which is the two sunnahs for entering into the masjid.
Yeah.
And the wajib supersedes the sunnah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes, the obligation supersedes the sunnah act. Anyone else? Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if you got a husband and wife at work, is the husband still responsible for her zakat?
Absolutely.
And she is too?
No.
Oh.
The wife is not. The husband is responsible for his and hers. Yes, because the wife is his responsibility. Now, we are living in a time where, we have multiple income homes, right? And if a wife says, you know what, I want to pay my own zakat, that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
What if she wants to pay the husband's zakat?
If she wants to pay the husband's zakat, that's her sadaqah. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that either. Yeah, but no. So if the wife is working, the wife is still the husband's responsibility. Anyone that the husband is responsible for, shar'an, according to the Sharia, regardless of if the wife is a millionaire and the husband is making $20,000 a year, the husband is still responsible for paying the zakat for his wife. He's still responsible for her maintenance. That's his responsibility. Unless, of course, she says, well, I don't need that, and that's a different story. That's between the two of them.
How much is it per person?
$10. $10 per person. Now,
Is this the sadaqah where your wealth is purified if you give?
no. Mm-mm. This is different. This is zakat. This isn't sadaqah. This is an obligation. Sadaqah is voluntary. Yeah. So, another important point. If you come to the musalla, yes, Salatul Eid is over, you haven't paid your zakat. Can you pay you have to pay your zakat before the salah. The imam is standing for salah. He says Allahu Akbar. Can you pay your zakat now? Because you missed out on that. So when I say you missed out on that, because it's an obligation, it's something that you were supposed to do, Tawbah is in order. Because there's a At that point, you have committed a sin. You've been negligent in fulfilling an obligation. And when you're negligent in fulfilling an obligation, you got to make it right. You have to make it right with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. And you should do more than ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you. You should do some good. However that good looks for you. Go out and help somebody. Do something. But make it up. Yes?
Where does the sum of zakat come from? How do you get the sum?
It's generally the average cost of a meal. Average cost of a meal. So now, when we say a meal, I'm not talking about a Happy Meal. Okay? And I'm talking about something that has true nutritional value. So I'm not talking about, a number 6 from McDonald's or a number 8 from Burger King. Because all of that is under $10 and that stuff will kill you. But a healthy meal is going to cost a little more.
What's the number 6?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know. Go look at the picture. Maybe a burger and some fries. Well, that usually, no. So food truck, usually a lot of that stuff isn't fast food. Some of it is, a lot of it isn't. So food truck, you get your lamb kebab, some rice, something like that. That's a full meal. That's a nutritional meal with a salad. There you go. That works.
How many days prior to Eid are you allowed to give your?
Up to 3 days. Anything before that, that's not acceptable. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. You.
Is this to be paid to the masjid or to other people?
Well, if you know of someone, the preference is if you know of someone, a needy family, you can give it to them directly. If you don't, you can give it to the masjid. The masjid will take it and give it to the needy that are known to the masjid. Now,
This one must be paid to Muslims.
this one, yes, this one must be paid to Muslims. So you cannot just walk up to a random homeless person and hand them a $10 bill. That doesn't work. Because the purpose of the zakat is to make the Eid meaningful for Muslims. Because a non-Muslim Eid has no meaning. So it serves no purpose for you to give your zakat to a non-Muslim. Anyone else?
Where's the Eid this time?
Oh, we're celebrating here. Mm-hmm.
You know where that?
Yep, we're celebrating on the 25th. Yeah, so we are celebrating the Eid here on Sunday the 25th, inshallah.
You'll collect zakat from Thursday after Maghrib, okay?
Yes. Yes, so we're going to start collecting zakat al-fitr on starting as early as Thursday evening. Inshallah. All right. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, yes. So, inshallah, we are going to close with dua. And before we do, inshallah, today I will make Takbiratul Eid available to you. Will be 3 pages. So you have the Arabic with the transliteration on the first 2 pages, and then you have the translation on the 3rd page. And I was trying to have this done before today's lecture, and me and the copier had a disagreement, so it just didn't work out that way. So inshallah, I will have this, if you're staying for the iftar, and I pray that you do, inshallah. I will have this available to you, and hopefully, inshallah, we can study it. If we already know it, alhamdulillah. If we don't, please study it. We also have a recording of Takbiratul Eid on our SoundCloud page, and inshallah we will be sharing that by way of Facebook and Twitter. And Brother Qais, if there's a way for us to share it by way of text, that way you can get the link. You can access the recording through your text message. So you just click on the link and it'll open up the SoundCloud page and you can listen to the recording. It'll help you go over Takbiratul Eid, inshallah. We do have that on the SoundCloud page, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We do? Okay. Spoke a little too soon, I wasn't sure. But
I
not
got
sure.
it stored from when you first put it on.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Yeah. Okay. So inshallah we'll close with dua. Inshallah. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, yes. Before we leave, we had planned on doing this the other evening. We wanted to remind everyone to make dua for our sister, Sahar Abdullah, who's still hospitalized. She's still in need of our dua. Inshallah, her condition is improving, but she is absolutely in need of our dua. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant her a speedy recovery during this blessed month of Ramadan, and that the collective dua of the believers, inshallah, will help to expedite her recovery, inshallah, and that she benefit, inshallah, from the barakah of all of the recitation that has been recited on her behalf. There have been several people that have been reciting Quran for her, and there's tremendous barakah and reward in that. And we are always hopeful that we are beneficiaries not only of dua, but of any act of devotion. There's another way for you, if you so choose to do, and that is you can always offer salah on someone else's behalf. So if you're, say for example, you come to Salat al-Tarawih and your intention is to make the first 10 rak'ahs for yourself and the next 10 rak'ahs for someone else that cannot offer the salah, that person will get that reward. You can do that. So there are different ways that we can help each other. There are different ways that we can help each other, inshallah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Can you do that for someone who's deceased as well?
Technically, you can. You can. Yes. The same way, if a person is deceased and you can make up, you can. If it's an obligation, absolutely. If it's a sunnah, certainly. If it's a sunnah, certainly. You can recite, or you can recite Quran on their behalf. You can offer salah on their behalf. You can make umrah on their behalf. You can make hajj on their behalf. You can fast on their behalf. Absolutely. They will get the reward, inshallah.
That would be things that they had owed, right?
Things that they had owed and things that you would like to pay forward for them.
Oh.
Same way you can pay forward. So, for example, when you have people that pass away, and when people do a khatma for someone that passed away, That's you paying forward the recitation of Quran for that person.
That's a Muslim though, right?
Hmm?
Only a Muslim who passed away.
Yes. I don't know who's talking.
Oh, it's me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes, 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 yes.
They have to be a Muslim.
Yeah, I mean that type of benefit, yes, that's reserved for Muslims, yes.
If someone is capable of fasting, is that possible?
Hmm?
Yes, the count.
What was that?
Like someone's capable of fasting.
No, absolutely. You can only pay it forward for someone who's deceased, not someone who's living and, you know.
Someone asked me a question.
Yeah, there's a way for someone who can't fast for them to gain that benefit. And that's through sadaqah.
Someone asked me a question about reading the kitab, reading the juice, like, and they asked me if you listen to a juice, is it the same as you get the same benefit?
No, you don't. You don't get the same benefit of listening that you get from reading. No. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? If not, inshallah. Thank you for coming out to this evening's lecture, and inshallah, today's the last lecture for this month, and inshallah, we will see you this evening. Inshallah, some of you will remain for Tarawih prayer, inshallah. And if not, inshallah, we'll see you on Friday, or we'll see you at the Eid, inshallah. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.